Welcome back to another episode of Particle Word for Word. There's something about caves that stirs the imagination. Maybe it's the darkness, the way it wraps around you, hiding things just out of reach. Or maybe it's the idea that beneath our feet, there's an entirely different world, one that doesn't care about sunlight, or surface life, or us. We tend to think of nature as something we can see, birds in the trees, dolphins in the ocean, kangaroos on the roadside. But what about the life that exists in total darkness? The kind that never evolved to see? It's easy to forget that those ecosystems, those entire worlds, are there, and they matter. In today's story, Tom Gurn takes us into that hidden world. The world of subterranean spiders, tiny, pale, often eyeless creatures living in absolute darkness. Found only in a few specific caves across Western Australia, these spiders aren't just rare. They're precious. Their existence is like a whisper, delicate, ancient, and incredibly easy to lose. And finding them? That's no walk in the park. It's a mission. You don't just show up and spot one. Researchers have to climb into narrow crevices, abseil through sinkholes, and crawl across slippery limestone, often for hours, just for the chance to glimpse one of these elusive arachnids. But they do it anyway. Why? What makes these fragile cave dwellers worth all that trouble? And what can they teach us, not just about evolution or biology, but about the responsibility we carry for the unseen corners of our environment? It's a story of curiosity, of persistence, of protection. And it asks us to rethink how we value life, especially the kind that hides from us. Here's Tom Gurn reading his article, Spelunking for Spiders.
The vast expanse of the Nullarbor plain on traditional Murning land is an enigmatic and captivating landscape. Once an ancient seafloor, the arid ecosystem covers over 200,000 square kilometres of desolation, traversed only by Australia's longest, straightest highway. Hidden beneath the monotonous desert landscape lie limestone karsts. These formations have been hollowed out by rainfall over several millennia to create huge and little understood cave systems. An underland adventure. The Nullarbor Bush Blitz expedition in 2021 was an effort to document the area's biodiversity. Scientists were aware that large, blind, cave-dwelling spiders, known as Troglodyplura, existed in the Nullarbor, but all species were only known from fragments of exoskeleton and a few juvenile spiders. That was about to change. Deep within the Swiss cheese-like cave systems, arachnologist Dr. Jess Marsh and speleologist Andrew Stempel became the first people on record to see a living adult Troglodyplura, this one a very large female. Andrew was one of the caving experts hired to facilitate the underground journey. "We went through a little solution pipe," says Andrew, "a few meters across, maybe 5 meters deep. From there, the intrepid explorers zigzagged deeper as they crawled through horizontal openings and rappelled down vertical sections. And then all I hear is people yelling from further into the cave," says Andrew. University of Adelaide researcher Dr. Jess Marsh was one of the voices. "They didn't have a big enough vial to capture the thing," says Andrew. At one point he slid into a cramped crevice to retrieve a spider with his bare hands. Troglomorph Power Rangers. Jess says the experience was unforgettable. "I'll never forget seeing one for the first time," says Jess. "It was just like, oh, there it is." They're beautiful animals, completely eyeless. The spiders are huge, almost the size of your hand. Genetically related to trapdoor spiders, they have gigantic fangs. We know very little about them for such a large, impressive spider. Just dark dwellers. Troglomorphism is the term applied to animals that evolve to live in the complete darkness of a cave. They are globally significant because they're amongst the most troglomorphic primitive spiders in the world, says Jess. They show a range of adaptations, including a complete loss of eyes and elongated limbs. These adaptations are typical of troglomorphic creatures. So is a decrease in skin pigment thanks to no exposure to the sun. This rare species was thought to only occur in a single cave, but was discovered in 3 caves separated by more than 25 kilometers. This suggests these blind spiders may travel and spread their genes between the caves. It was very unexpected, says Jess. I think it's really exciting. looking at these potential subterranean dispersal mechanisms. It's like highways underground. A multifaceted threat. Caves generally have a consistent temperature year-round. Nullarbor caves are no exception, despite large variations in the above-ground temperature. This means any changes to the environment will affect the species living within. I think foxes are a key threat. Some of the caves that we went into, there were dens and scat right through, says Jess. The Troglodipleura had likely been the apex predator of the Nullarbor cave systems for thousands of years. Despite their enormous fangs, they seem to be docile, not reacting aggressively to the presence of the scientists or cavers. This makes them easy prey for hungry foxes. The risk from above. Another potential threat to this spider species is the proposed Western Green Energy Hub. Over the next 15 years, it aims to develop the world's largest renewable energy hub of 25 million solar panels and 3,000 wind turbines in a development envelope of 22,690 kilometers squared. The development of renewable energies is paramount to combat climate change, and climate change itself represents a significant threat to the survival of endemic cave spiders. However, the risk of damage to the caves is high. The underground dispersal networks uncovered by the researchers present an extra challenge. Developers have to take into account a much broader area than just a particular cave, says Jess. There are at least 2 caves that hold species of Troglodipleura within that development footprint, possibly more. So the potential for extinctions is high.
So, how do you feel about spiders now? It's one thing to picture a huntsman darting across your ceiling. It's another to think about a species so shy, so specialized, it's never seen daylight. A spider that's evolved without eyes. Because why would it need them? A spider that's adapted to total stillness, total darkness, and total isolation. And it's not just cool, it's kind of profound. Because stories like this remind us that Earth is still full of surprises. Even in a world mapped by satellites and scanned by drones, there are places left to explore. Places that don't show up on Google Earth. And in those places, tiny mysteries with big meaning. These cave spiders are like living fossils, evidence of ancient ecosystems evolving slowly, quietly beneath the surface. They remind us that nature doesn't just adapt in the obvious places, like forests or coral reefs. It adapts in the cracks, in the silence, in the dark. But that silence is fragile. Many of these caves are threatened by mining, blasting, and development. And when their habitats disappear, so do the species. Extinction isn't always loud. It's not always global headlines or climate protests. Sometimes it's a single cave sealed off, a small patch of land disturbed, a species gone, quietly, completely. That's what makes stories like this so important, because when you know what's down there, when you really understand it, it's harder to ignore. Suddenly that cave isn't just a hole in the ground, it's a home, a habitat, a whole hidden history. Conservation is often about seeing what others don't, and caring even when it's inconvenient. That's what these researchers are doing. They're not just spelunking for spiders, they're advocating for invisible life, for rare species, for forgotten places, for futures we haven't discovered yet. So maybe next time you pass by a limestone outcrop, or hear about a new development breaking ground, you'll pause and think, what might be living just below the surface? And who's out there, climbing, crawling, and caring to make sure we don't lose it? For more science stories like this, visit Particle WA at particle.scitech.org.au.